right, let me get this camera adjusted just a little bit. And let's cut the top of my head off now. Okay. All right, that should do it. All right, folks, I think we're live now. Looks like the feed is going through just fine. And welcome to Prophecy Montana. Hey, we got a subject that has been eating me up for the last week or so. Absolutely eating me up. I mean, I couldn't even hardly wait to do the live last week on Wednesday. And I decided last minute to do a live this evening. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to be talking about these orbs in the sky, these drones. I got Lisa, my wife, joining me in the background. And we're going to be putting a phone number up here in a little bit for some call-ins if you guys are interested to call in calling in. And in Dallas, if you're out there watching, you can just call me on my regular number. But we've got some footage, compliments of the Watchmen that we're going to be playing tonight of some of these orbs. And we saw, we've been watching a couple of the orbs in the last few weeks. I know Lisa saw, what exactly was it that you saw again?
Well, I saw a light sphere above, really low, but up on the mountain, a close mountain. And that was before the stars even came out. And I said, what is that? Is that one of those, UFOs? And then by the time you went out and looked at it,
it was behind the hill, and I said, "Oh, it's the moon," and I was groggy, I was sleepy. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And as I went back to bed, laid down, Lisa says, "That's not the moon. The moon's on the other side of the house." And then I got up and I walked to the other side of the house, and sure enough, the moon was on the other side of the house. So the light was coming behind the hill, very bright light. Nobody else seemed to have seen it, but us.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a community out here, but nobody saw it but us. But okay, so we're going to talk about these things, and I was thinking this morning, how's it going, Dallas? My phone line, I think, is connected. If you'd like to give me a call, or you can listen for a while, or it doesn't matter. You can call in anytime you want. But I got to thinking this morning about what the purpose of these might be, because we're clearly, I mean, if you've been watching the news, well, of course, a lot of the news has been discounting it, and you have to kind of go online. It's sort of, the news is playing this theme that these are just personal drones that are being flown around, and that they aren't really that important, and they're just drones that are doing their business and whatever. Now, the one we saw the other night, we saw it and we heard it. And the sound of it is really what got my attention, because it looked like an ordinary airplane, except it had too many lights on it, for one, to be an ordinary. I mean, there's usually the little red beacon light, and the nav lights and stuff like that are on airplanes. And good morning, or good evening, Kevin. And Tim Greed is with us. Lawton, Oklahoma. Am I reading that right? Lawton, Oklahoma. Well, welcome. And so, anyways, we saw this drone a couple nights ago, and it had, first of all, it had too many lights on it, and it was flying in an absolute straight line, which you would expect an airplane too as well. And but it was going right for us. And by the time we got to the top of the hill, it was right over top of us. So we decided, okay, let's turn the engine off of the truck and let's get out and let's take a better look at this thing. And that's when I actually heard the sound, and the sound was very distinct. Now, when you listen to these hobby drones have a real high pitch kind of a zzz, sound, and they're distinct too, in that they have 4 rotors. If you're into hobby airplanes and you have an electric airplane that has a single propeller, you hear just that single propeller, and you can hear it going through the air, and it makes a very distinct noise for a single. If you put multiple propellers, you have that times 2 or 3 or 4. And the drone that we saw, it sounded like a 4. It had this real low, like a whoa You know, you could hear all of those rotors, almost like if you've ever been to an air show and you've seen those big bombers. I remember watching like the what was it? My sons would know. They're airplane nerds, but you know, with the big 4-engine bombers, like the World War II bombers, and they had one out there, B-52, I think it was, anyways, it had all 4 engines going. It was very distinct with all 4 engines going, but you could hear the motors, the power of the motors, but you could hear the prop and the wind that it made. Well, this drone had just the prop noise with no motor noise. Okay. And it was big. That's what, you know, a lot of people are saying these are the size of like SUVs. And they're very large. Heaven Soon, she says, just saw one on our way home from a nativity here in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay. And so these are being spotted all over the place. Now, with just watching the Pentagon, they had a live, and they're pretty much denying any involvement at all in this. And what they're saying is, number one, there's nothing to be worried about. Number two, they're just ordinary drones. Now, both of those couldn't be true at the same time, because if the ordinary drones are flying over airspace, they're scrambling jets. A lot of people are upset. The Coast Guard, the sheriff there in New Jersey is upset about this stuff. There's been press conference after press conference. A lot of news stations have been picking up on this. The FBI said, well, you need to stop shining lasers at these drones. Well, how do they know they're shining lasers at the drones if they don't know anything about it? You know what I'm saying, Lisa?
Yep.
I mean, you know, first of all, they're saying, no, we don't know what they are. They're not a threat. And then all of a sudden, then the FBI comes out and says, quit shining lasers at them. And so this is, and Heaven Soon said, this is significant because of the time we are living. It could be used to enforce martial law. And
wow.
We had watched a video a while back, and I mentioned it on the last live stream about the possibilities of this being a psyop. Now, psychological operation is nothing more than, it could just be a distraction. It could just be, you know, hey, look, guys, look what's going on over here. Well, something's happening over here of import that they don't want you to see. And psyops usually are identified by media outlets all having the same theme, right? I haven't seen that. I've seen media outlets have a little bit of, you know, difference of opinion on what these things might be. Now, because of what I've seen earlier in my life and what I've seen recently, I know there are things out there that are supernatural. Now, I'm much more mature in my Christian walk now, and I realize a lot of these supernatural things, they could only be one of two things. A holy angel or an evil angel, okay? And I don't think they're a holy angel for this reason, is because I don't think God is going to allow confusion like this, right? God is very transparent. He doesn't want to muddy up the waters with things we don't need to know particularly. But the devil really is all about that. He really is all about confusion and about and deception. I mean, that's what Satan means, is the deceiver. That's the literal, you know, meaning of that. Kevin says they could be tweaking the PSI up, considering everyone is onto them. You know, they're definitely, I mean, they're flying around with their lights on, and then the orbs are a different thing altogether. The orbs, I believe, are supernatural. The drones, I believe, are man-made. These drones are in the air for 8-10 hours at a time. I mean, that was what the New Jersey police testified to. You know, a lady police officer, she witnessed 40 of these things come up out of the water, between 40 and 50. And so she's a sworn officer. I mean, why would a sworn officer risk her whole reputation and everything else? And then the Coast Guard simultaneously was being followed by at least 10. And from different reports say different things, but they were concerned enough to make a phone call into the Department of Defense and actually ask for permission to shoot one of these down. And then they were denied permission. So there's some things going on. People are seeing these. They are raising concerns in different military groups that maybe aren't in the know. Because, you know, that's how a lot of these secret operations take place, is not everybody's in the know. And that's how you really get the effect of the PSYOP to be at its maximum, is you create ambiguity and curiosity, and everybody's talking about all these different things. And everybody's looking up, of course, which they didn't look before. There was a podcast the other day that the guy put some lights on there and said these were orbs. Well, some smart fellow found out that it was actually the constellation of Orion that he was looking at, and not, in fact, the orbs. Okay, Big Sky, how you doing, Aaron? Government is doing this to be able to make drones illegal. Thought about that too, man. And they're definitely restricting, like over New Jersey, they're restricting the flights of drones now. They're saying, okay, nobody's allowed to fly drones anymore. But that doesn't stop anything from happening. Now, the funny thing is, Dallas says, I almost missed your comment there, why almost always at night? Yeah, that's correct. If these were drones that were personal drones, let's say, they would be flying during all hours of the day. And drones are supposed to have, especially in places like, I believe in the East Coast. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Some of you guys in the East Coast may know better than me. But I believe they're supposed to have like a identification beacon. Now, just like an airplane, there's apps you can download on your phone, which actually tells you can see an airplane fly through the sky. You can see it on your app, and it identifies and it names by name who the pilot and everything is. And the drones are the exact same thing. I mean, they have to, especially these drones that are flying in airspace. Aaron says, drone tech combined with AI makes drones a weapon of mass destruction. They certainly could be. And here's why I don't think they're owned personally, because many reports from reliable sources, and especially the one I saw too, was traveling at a good clip. It was very large. This is not a homeowner drone. This is not something that people like you and me own. I mean, these things stay in the sky for what's reported to up to 8 and 10 hours at a time. I mean, most hobby drones that I've seen only can remain airborne for a half an hour, at the most. I mean, if it's a fixed wing, it can go much further. It can have a lot more endurance. It's not using as much power to stay a lift. But these quadcopters do. Now, the only technology I can think of that can actually do that, and we do have that technology that I'm aware of, is the hydrogen fuel cell technology. And so with the hydrogen fuel cell, you can carry enough fuel on board to create the electricity to run these engines. And actually, there's no heat signatures on these either, which would make sense because they could use the excess heat, scavenge it, and use that to release the hydrogen from the hydrogen storage. And so how's it going, Mary? Nice to see you here on the live. She says, hello, Carrie. I have my second oldest son, Eugene, visiting with me from Southern Cal. I live in northern part of Cal. Hope you're well. Always feel blessed with your podcast. Thank you. Thank you, Mary, so much for that. It's always nice to have encouragement, I'll tell you. But listen, so these are not hobbyist drones. These are military-grade drones, and they're literally flying around the world in large numbers. And I'm not the only one who's spotted them out here in Clarkston. By the way, we had an earthquake last night, didn't we?
We did.
And here's the interesting thing. That earthquake only registered a 2.9 on the Richter scale, and it felt like a big boom, and it woke us both out of bed, just straight out of bed.
And I'm a hard sleeper.
Yeah, it was like a big bang, and the whole house just went bam. And I'm from Cali. I'm used to earthquakes. I mean, I can sleep through earthquakes. But this sucker really hit our house. And looking on the news this morning, I was looking for that earthquake because I thought somebody had to feel it. Well, nobody felt it but us. And it just turns out that the epicenter was about 6 miles north of Logan, which is about exactly where my house is. And so that was interesting. I don't know. We've had earthquakes up here before. That may just be pure coincidence, but I've been looking up a lot. How's it going, Liza? Nice to have you here. I've been looking up a lot, and we've been seeing things. Now, these orbs, you look at them, and they go black. Now, interesting. Hey, Dallas, you're going to like this. So you had just left the church, and I was talking to Paul Eastville, the good doctor, as you guys know him. He's on the podcast in the morning on Sabbath School. He said that he saw a formation of these just a few days ago. And when he went to get his wife, Ardith, he ran to the house. He says, Ardith, look at these. And these things were flying in formation. They looked like stars during the bright daylight. And as Ardith was coming out of the house, as is typical, they blacked out and they went black. Now, Paul's gotten many pictures of these orbs. He takes pictures with his camera at the chemtrails. And about 1 out of 10 pictures shows up these shiny little orbs that I've seen up close, years ago. I'm going to read some of these. Okay. So P. Grand says, we haven't had any in Brisbane, Australia. We must be boring. The Australians are nothing or anything but boring, let me tell you. Those guys are all characters, I think. If you're Australian, just automatically a character. Let me see. Heaven Soon says hobby drones don't require a U-Haul truck to haul them around, as we have seen at the fields around here near Gettysburg. Interesting. Okay. Liza says, I caught alive. Blessings to you both. You are both the Lord's work. Don't worry, by doing, you are transformed. Thank you, Liza.
Now, you remember the video my sister sent me this week where that woman's actually talking?
Yeah, so there's
this illuminated thing.
An orb, yeah, or a
orb.
plasmoid or whatever they're calling them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you guys might have seen the video where the lady says, do you know Jesus? And the thing begins to ripple. She goes, oh, you do know Jesus. And it ripples again. Every time she says Jesus, this thing ripples. And a lot of these people's idea is that possibly these are holy in nature. Okay, and that's the whole point of this podcast tonight, because I'm so wound up about this idea that these things might be holy that I have to say something, right?
I'm like, it's Mars Attacks. Which is not good.
That was a disgusting movie that we watched years ago.
So in Revelation 12:4, it says, when Satan fell from heaven, he took 1/3 of the stars with him, which is often interpreted as the meaning he took 1/3 of the angels with him in his rebellion, becoming known as the fallen angels or demons.
Yeah, and I said that last Wednesday how angels oftentimes are likened unto stars, and it's because I think their original appearance when they're and all conjecture on my part. There's not a lot of information in the Bible, but angels. I mean, the Star of Bethlehem. I forgot to mention that on the last podcast as well. We're told in Desire of Ages that was a company of angels that created that star-looking thing, right? So. A says, I thought it was drones, only now orbs and drones. Very strange.
Ezekiel 1:15 says, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flashing of lightning. And as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures and his four faces. And his appearance of the wheels and their works was like unto the color of beryl or beryl.
Beryl, like a beryl stone.
And the four had one likeness. So it's talking about this, but it's talking about a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Which we've seen some different stuff that's.
Yeah, and again, some of this stuff could be AI, and I think I'm getting better at spotting the AI stuff versus the real stuff. You got to kind of look at the YouTube channel. How big's the YouTube channel? Is the video, original? How many views are they getting? There's a lot of factors. I mean, if it's a big YouTube channel, they probably have the means and the money to be able to generate AI. But some of these bigger YouTube channels are very legit as well. And so that's not necessarily always the best test. But if it's just a small YouTube channel or a brand spanking new YouTube channel that somebody opened just for the purpose of posting, I usually take that a little bit more serious because it's more than likely just regular amateur video. And if it's a video of stuff that I've saw previously, I tend to believe it, Now I know these orbs, the one I saw, at least and I saw together, was a shiny ball. It just was literally like a shiny ball, and it looked like a reflection, or it could have been a light. Big Sky. Aaron says, not banned. The Countering CCP Drones Act was not included in the pull this a little closer, FY 25 National Defense Authorization Acts that passed the United States Congress this week. not banned. The Countering CCP Drones Act was not included. Okay. Translate what you just said to me. Well, I think you're saying is, okay, so they do have these countering drones. They were talking about that today on the Pentagon talk. And there was something about that, and I kind of missed it, so I'm trying to catch up to everything you're saying there. You're always 3 steps ahead of me, Aaron. Okay, Liza says, today we went out after Sabbath lunch to the community to hand out books. 3 persons asked for prayers for their dead relatives. Interesting. The state of the dead is the greatest false doctrine. Okay. And she says we need to teach. In other words, she's saying we need to teach, that the state of the dead is that they are dead and that they don't walk around among us. Reformation says angels' first words are usually "be not afraid," and the drone's orbs are certainly creating fear. That's a good point.
That's right.
That's a good point. And the first reaction of people, when God comes before us, and we talked about this a little bit last week, when God comes before us, it's usually, or an angel, it's usually an awe-inspiring experience. I mean, usually the people fall to the ground like they're dead and have to be lifted up, or they fall down to worship and they're told not to worship. And they have a very specific, very profound message, usually to tell that individual or that prophet. And so it's very purposeful visit from God or a holy angel to whoever is getting that message. Very purposeful. It's not a random, in the sky, whole bunch of stuff going on like what we see right now. All right, and I'm going to get around to what I think's happening here in just a second. But first, Lisa, why don't you tell us, and I brought you on this podcast so you can do that, a little bit about your childhood experience. Start out. Now, Lisa, she grew up in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California.
Well, let me say it.
Okay, you bet.
So I grew up in the high country, and we didn't have much. We had a generator, kind of like we have now, but we had to go to bed early. And I remember my dad would say, my mom's name is Blanche, and he would say, Blanche, come check this out. And I can hear their footprints going across the house, the vibrations. And me and my sister would sneak over there and we'd look out. And every night this tule fog would sock in and we could see these UFOs and little bright orbs coming out of the ship and going into the fog. And I always was very scared, and then we just kind of got used to them. When I was in the Tobias lookout tower, I turned off the light. This was years later, and there was one so close to my window because it's 360 degrees, and that really scared me. I crawled underneath the bed that was there and called my sister. But I've had some encounters. When we're driving on these one passage roads, they're just logging roads. They don't even have lines on them or nothing. And you always keep an eyeball for lights when you're driving. And I said, oh, there's something up there, so I'll greet it and I'll be careful. Well, I drove a motorcycle, so it was easy to kind of maneuver around people. But anyways, I said, should be around here somewhere. Sure enough, this UFO come flying around a bend in this canyon, and of course I wrecked. I was very petrified, and I've saw them my whole life, and I try to tell Carrie this, but my dad actually told me and my sister not to talk about it. So, because they were afraid of the little imaginary friend, that people say it's okay to have. I don't know if it's okay to have those. As my dad says, don't bring people into your life that might be concerned about that. So just don't talk about that.
Liza asked, can we see her? You actually, she's in her nightgown, Liza, and she's got her hair kind of, it's evening time, so she's asked not to put a camera on her. But I always would like to put a camera on her, but she's kind of shy. But we'll get her dolled up in her best attire, so she looks photogenic, and I mean she's beautiful.
Liza, I just got out of the hot sauna, and I have oil in my hair. And I'm pink.
She's pink. Yeah, I'm pink. You got that nice, beautiful hue to you.
Well, my skin's all burnt from being in there. When you get hot, your skin turns pink.
Yeah. All right. So Reformation says, in my office of 25 plus, every single person claimed to have had a supernatural experience where they were having interactions with spirits and the dead. Okay. Liza says, at Reformation, spiritualism and the state of the dead is a tool the enemy uses, especially to those who are grieving the death of loved ones. We can't believe what we see. We can only trust the word. That is such a good point. When it comes to supernatural things, we have to be extremely careful. Like Liza just mentioned, and I mentioned it last week in the podcast too, that we can't really believe our eyes. I mean, we can believe what we see. Something's going on, right? But it's not necessarily from God. Now, I'm not going to say it's never from God, because people do have those experiences as well.
You can't make sense of it.
But you can't, like if it tells you, okay, if your dead one appears before you, now you know it's definitely the devil, because God says that the dead, know nothing. There was a story years ago I heard, maybe Doug Batchelor told this story. I don't remember, but somehow there was a story, and supposedly it was true. But a mother and her son, and the son went off to war, and he would write letters. And one day she gets a U.S. Army vehicle drives up to her driveway, knock on the door. Sorry, ma'am, we have to inform you that your son is dead. Right. And she began to grieve, as you can imagine. I mean, we know a few mothers that have lost sons around here, and it's something I don't think should happen to any mother, because it's such a terrible tragedy. But what was it? A month or two after she had heard of her son's death, her son came to her at night in an apparition. Mom, I'm fine. I'm in heaven. I'm enjoying it. Everything's good. Don't worry about me, blah, blah, blah. And as the weeks went by, her son would continue to visit her. And I don't remember how much time had passed, but she gets a knock on the door, and she opens the door, and there's her son at the door. And she was a little surprised. She says, well, you usually visit me at night. And now he's surprised. He said, what do you mean, Mom? I'm here. I'm in the flesh. Anyways, turns out there'd been a mistake. The Army had thought that somehow he was dead. He had mistaken identity or something. Maybe his dog tags were somewhere where they shouldn't have been.
And then Satan.
And then Satan starts impersonating him, and he's not even dead. So these things have been recorded as happening as such. So that tells us right there definitively that Satan can impersonate our dead loved ones, and even the ones that aren't dead yet. So Aaron says the United States government is currently trying to make drones illegal. They are trying to gain popular support for it. Well, I mean, it's inevitable, right? They're just going to take all our freedoms away. Drones have become a weapon. We've seen that in Ukraine and stuff. And I mean, maybe this is a topic for another live. I don't want to get too deep into it, because especially the YouTube live can censor stuff pretty quickly. But they're basically trying to disarm the last country that is still allowed to have arms. And now drones have become a threat because they're actually using them in warfare. And anything that can become a threat, well, anyways, long subject, long topic for another day. But, all right, so let's get to the phone lines. If you guys would like to call, let me see here. Where are we at? Here's the number that you guys can try. And I'll just pop it up on the old screen. Oh, here we go. Let's take a call from Dallas. Dallas, you're online.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey, Carrie. Just wanted to make a couple comments. I guess most of it will be pretty obvious, but just wanted to share my opinion with you. It's good to be able to talk with you. I don't type very well, so much easier to say this stuff instead of trying to type it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we all know this, that these things that are being seen, combination of orbs and whatever, what do they call them now? Unexplained aerial phenomena or something.
UAPs, UAVs. There's a lot of acronyms for them.
Right. But obviously, they're not a threat to our personal safety. So I don't think we need to worry about that. I don't believe it's a threat to national security. It's not some other country doing this kind of stuff. Obviously, if this is a threat from an unknown source, the U.S. military would be on top of this and would be taking care of that. And we also need to remember that in Bible prophecy, America, the lamb-like beast, influences the whole world at the end. So America is not going to be overthrown or conquered or any of that kind of stuff. So all that's pretty obvious. You're looking for a biblical connection here. All I'm aware of in the Bible that speaks to something unexplained in the sky is what Lisa was talking about a minute ago, Ezekiel's vision in chapter 1 of Ezekiel. And reading the spirit of prophecy connected to that, this thing that he was trying to explain in human terms, kind of hard to understand, but he was doing his best to explain it, really speaks to God being in control of everything. It looks confusing, a wheel within a wheel, and these four beings keeping them going and all this kind of stuff, but there's a hand underneath all that. And that's a reminder that God's in control. God is a God of order, and there doesn't seem to be any order in these sightings throughout the nation, throughout the world. So I agree with you. I don't think it's from God. Everything that Jesus did when he was here, everything we are called to do is to bring glory to the Father. How is God the Father glorified in any of these unexplained aerial phenomena? So I agree. I don't think it's from God.
No.
Anything from that's secret is not of God.
That's right.
Yeah, if it's secret, if it's ambiguous, if it's has some
Secret
obscurity,
society,
God is very transparent. He says he doesn't do anything unless he reveals it first unto the prophets.
Right. And God is happy to work in the daylight. He doesn't need to work in dark.
That's right.
That's a good point, Dallas. That's a very good point.
So we just need to remember that God's in control. There doesn't seem to be any single entity in control of these things. These unexplained aerial phenomena. So they just can't be from God.
That's a good point. They're very random. They're coming all different shapes and sizes. They seem to be appearing all over the world. Of course, my wife has seen them her whole life. I've seen a few instances once with her, and so maybe God allowed me to see that. So I have kind of like some. I don't know, or maybe I was just living a life of sin, and that's what was. I made myself vulnerable to Satan's deception.
I wouldn't go too far down that road, Carrie. I think a lot of people are seeing these things, and there may be a reason or a purpose to them. There may be something for us to learn from this. Maybe it's to desensitize us to things you really can't explain, so that, and just like somebody had mentioned before in the chat, the state of the dead is a big deal, and we know it's what day do we worship on, and it's the state of the dead that are the two big things at the end of time.
Those are the big two, the two big deceptions: is Sunday sacredness and immortality of the soul, or spiritism, or however you want to frame that.
Yeah, so maybe this is just to desensitize us to phenomena that we can't explain, and so we're not afraid of them, and we're not worried about them, and so we'll fall for anything.
Yeah, well, and maybe
so that might be a good lesson there.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You know, it was presented to all the nations, right? And the unfallen worlds. And so, you know, when Satan does something, it's not like God's going to block him. Maybe the rules of engagement allow Satan to even reveal it to the righteous as well. So now everybody's seeing it in the skies. I don't know how it works, really.
Right. So I would just like to leave you with a final comment. I don't want to monopolize too much time. Hopefully other people will call in and share perspectives. So really what Ezekiel saw here were symbols that revealed that there was a power overruling the affairs of earthly rulers. And in Prophets and Kings, page 536, we read, as the wheel-like complications were under the guidance of the hand beneath the wings of the cherubim, so the complicated play of human events is under divine control. Amidst the strife and tumult of nations, he that sitteth above the cherubim still guides the affairs of this earth. So God's in control. Mm-hmm. His purposes will be fulfilled no matter what we see going on around us. Mm-hmm. So, Carrie, thanks for the chance to call in, and I'll get off the line. Maybe somebody else will call in.
Thanks so much for the call,
Thank
Dallas.
You. All right.
All right, bye. All right, and Aaron's got a little comic relief here. He says, I got it. Santa is testing his new gift delivery system because the ASPCA took his reindeer. Okay, so, and let me put that number back up, and you guys could call in. Would sure love to hear from you guys. I haven't heard anybody's actual voice yet, so... But only if you guys feel comfortable doing it. Don't feel pressured by me. If you guys are have something that you want to share with us online, that would be fantastic. But okay, so now let's get to what I think they are and what their purpose is and what the deception is as well. And first we'll read A's comment. People will believe in the supernatural and eventually Satan will start to manifest himself. And that's kind of goes along with the lines of what I think I'm going to be, you know, kind of revealed. So hang on. So we got a phone call here. Let's see if we can.
1 to start the call or 2 to decline. Press 1 to start the call or 2 to decline. The call will start at the beep.
Hello, you're on Prophecy Montana.
Hi, Carrie. This is Liza. How are you?
Eliza, how you doing?
How are you?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Nice to hear from you.
It is. It's great to hear your voice. I mean, I hear your voice all the time. But my point is to what Dallas said. I feel like we are being desensitized in these things. So, you know, slowly we are being given sort of things that are popping up, things that we are not used to seeing, things that perhaps people would have rejected. But now it's being normalized. And so, oh, you know, we are seeing this. You know, we have Congress is talking about the UFO. We're talking about all these spiritual things, and that's how it starts. It's just through the sensitization. You know, we start to believe these things. I was so shocked to see that so many people asked for prayer for their deceased family members, and I thought about it and how sad it is also because these people are hurting. And I thought about it when we went back to church to sort of debrief from going out. We realized that we need to study about the state of the dead. We have to understand it before we can teach it as well. So this is what my view about it.
That's a real key topic is the state of the dead because I have a neighbor behind me, Liza, that's actually given up on God because he was taught that, you know, God burns people forever and ever. And it really turned him off to the idea of God. And I told him, look, man, this is not biblical. It's not in the Bible. I says, this is a doctrine that was borrowed from paganism that was adopted into Christianity and is being taught all over in all of the churches, but it's wrong. It's a wrong doctrine. And he just wouldn't hear it, you know, but it had done its damage. And so it's a very damaging concept of, you know, I mean, to me, it's comforting because we've had loved ones die, and I'm sure you have too, Liza. You know, I mean, if we've been alive for, you know, the older I get, the more of our loved, you know, the more loved ones I see, you know, pass, and And to me, it's comforting to know that they're sleeping, that they don't know nothing, that death is a sleep that's blink of an eye. When they wake up again, they don't have any recollection of the time. It's very merciful.
It is. And so most of them, I remember one of them asked a prayer for his wife. And we can hear his wife got deceased. And then another young man asked prayer for his father who had died. I guess perhaps he missed the moments. And we didn't get into details to ask, why would you ask prayer for somebody that is no longer with us? But I think it kind of gave us a better insight on what we need to prepare ourselves with in terms of tools, what we need to understand, our biblical understanding, and how to share that with others. Walter White was one of those that had that same experience as far as, and that's why he was an atheist, because growing up in the Catholic Church, they told him that his mother was being burned. And so he had lost faith. He said, what kind of God do you worship? And so that's a perfect example. And he has a good testimony to share with others as well. In my family, we didn't have that, but it really kind of gave us, we were surprised to see. It gave us an insight on what we need to focus on and what we need to tell people, because they're really sad. It has to hurt to feel that way. So hopefully the Lord and the Holy Spirit can guide us. And I want to say that your message, your podium is really good, and I like listening to y'all. And I pray every day that your ministry will just grow every day.
Praise the Lord, Liza. Thank you so much for your prayers. Yeah, we do.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right.
Good night, Lisa.
Good night.
Thank you so much for your call, Liza.
Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. So nice to hear from Liza. It puts more character to you guys. I see you guys on the comments, and I kind of get to know you on the comments a little bit too. But man, when you guys call in, then it gives me a little bit bigger picture of you guys, and helps me frame who you guys are out there. And, you guys are a family, and that's what's going to be so much fun about the reunion in heaven is that we're all going to be able to unite and
That's right.
and be together. But so the doctrine of the state of the dead is so important, and the devil is working on this idea of the immortality of the soul. You die, you go straight to heaven, or you go straight to hell, right? Or you burn forever, or you go to purgatory. These false doctrines have been taught for 1,000+ years, 2,000 years. Well, not quite two, maybe 1,800 years. And our purpose is to get back to what's right, to rebuild the old walls, to restore the old places and the waste places. Okay, so now these drones, I think there is a purpose, and it kind of struck me this morning. I felt very compelled to bring this up during the live and to talk about it a little bit. And what I think is going on. Now, if you were the devil, how would, and by the way, I don't know if you guys have saw some of these videos of these orbs actually destroying some of these drones, where the drones go up to the orbs, and it's like, and again, I don't know if it's AI, I don't know if it's real. It doesn't matter if it's AI or if it's real. It serves its purpose, in my opinion. But the orb will get very bright, and then and then all of a sudden the drone that's in close proximity will catch into flames, and you can see it falling from the sky. Multiple videos of this in different parts of the country, and it's almost like I got to thinking this morning. I thought, well, if I was a devil, how would I frame this deception? What would I do? Okay, so we know Satan is going to impersonate the second coming, right? We're told that in the spirit of prophecy. He's going to impersonate Jesus Christ. We're told that in the Bible too. Lo, if he's in the desert, do not go. If he's in the secret places, do not seek him out. All right, so if I were the devil, I would take this opportunity to stage something with the government, because we all see the government as the bad guys, right? I mean, they're the bad guys. They're withholding the information. They're the ones that are saying, oh, there's no drones in the sky. There's nothing evil, nothing nefarious here to see, guys. You guys can all go home now, while they're flying these things around, flashing their lights, getting everybody's attention. And then the fact that they're lying about it gets our suspicion up, right? Well, these guys are really bad, right? And so then the devil's going to make his move. Now the good orbs, and people are already calling them holy angels up there. The good orbs are shooting down the bad drones. You getting a picture? And so then Satan is going to during the Trump presidency, get rid of the swamp. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to get rid of all the bad people, and they're going to bring in 1,000 years of peace, and Satan might even show up on the Joe Rogan podcast. And you know what? I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, and Elon Musk might be there, and all of our favorite, listen, I've watched Joe Rogan for years, but these people are being set up and they're being groomed for a specific purpose, right? Now, when it says he's in the desert, do not go, right? Okay, that's an easy one. All right, well, Jesus just showed up in Las Vegas, Nevada, everybody. Let's get some tickets. Your buddies are trying to, well, heck, we don't even need tickets. It's free. Let's hop in the truck and go. No, that's not how it's going to happen, guys. If he's on CNN, do not tune in. Does that sound a little more realistic? If he's on the Joe Rogan podcast, don't check it out. Lisa said, well, I would like to see. Oh, well, how'd you say that?
Well, I wanted to see what he looked like.
Right. But don't do it.
Oh.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go there. Because you got to remember, Satan has deceived a third of the angels and the majority of mankind. He is very clever, and we don't want to fall under his spell. And if we entertain the influence that he can place on us, then we can get trapped. And I think a lot of our people are going to get deceived. Now, we're told that his feet won't touch the ground. Satan might say, well, look, I'm wearing sandals. My feet aren't touching the ground. He'll have an answer for everything, guys. He'll have an answer for everything. And it's going to be so tempting. I mean, he's going to appear as an angel of light. He's going to have, Satan we know is a very beautiful creature. I'm sure he's not going to show up ugly. And he's going to be very charismatic. He's going to gain all of the attention of, and he's going to do all the right things, right? He's going to ban abortion once and for all. He's going to implement, laws that bring upon peace on the earth and prosperity, and everybody is, going to be eating from real silverware, and life will be good. The middle class will be back. We're back, baby. We're back. We can watch Sunday night football and drink beer now and eat pretzels in peace, and football will be football again, and boys will be boys again, and girls will be girls again, and everything will be well. Everything will be well. That's what we're after, isn't it? Isn't that what the people are after, Lisa? Yes.
I'm not after that. But
No,
yeah.
Well, you and I have had our fill of all of those things, and we just decided one day that we've had enough. Yeah. And God's way is better. And trust me, you guys don't want to get caught up in that vortex, and that's why I don't tell personal testimonies, because when you accentuate all of your drinking and smoking days, then the young people listen to that and they go, oh, gee, you mean I can drink and smoke and do drugs and then I can come back for it when, one day when I have my fun? No, that's not how it works. Most of us didn't come back from that. Stay away from it. Danger, danger, danger. Don't do it.
And also, we could see with all this weird stuff that's happening, how close we really are to the end of time.
That's right.
It's very sobering. Things
are getting close. Things are very, very, very close. Now, there might be a little short time of peace. This might all go away, and we'll all forget about it, and then something else will happen. Liza says, yes, we are being groomed at setup. They will tolerate those that refuse to bow for a short time, then under Satan's guide, they will move a decree of death against those who refuse to bow down.
Now, didn't you tell me today, or was it yesterday, that this nuclear warhead was missing, and so they're having these drones going around looking for it?
Yeah, it's one of the theories of ambiguity. So there's all these different, somebody said there was a mothership off, Iran, off the coast of, off the East Coast. Somebody else said there's a nuclear warhead. There very well could be a nuclear warhead that was stolen from Ukraine and it's floating around somewhere and they're trying to find it. I mean, I don't think so. It's more likely our government would put the nuclear warhead in the hands of the enemy and have them blow up a city. That's a whole lot more likely scenario than them pulling all the stops to go look for something that's missing. Mm-hmm. All right, so P. Grant says, in modern Catholicism, purgatory isn't taught as much, had that conversation with the practicing Catholic while I worked in a Catholic school. Vegas needs Jesus. I found it dirty. Oh my gosh, we just drove through it. It is so bad. We saw prostitutes and
It looked like a third world country with all the homeless.
And Lisa, in her innocence, bless your heart, Lisa.
Don't.
It's so cute. I got to tell.
No, it's embarrassing.
We were tired, right? And we're driving, and she's like, "Look, hotels as cheap as $24, Carrie." And I'm like, I think that's by the hour, Lisa. And she goes, "What?" Oh, I got it. Only in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kevin T says, I made myself blush. So by beholding, we become change. So you're right, Carrie. We should be careful. Yes. And we should behold the one who gives life. Mm-hmm. Tim Greed says, I am doing a Bible study on the rules of engagement between Christ and the devil. Ooh, that's got to be a good one. I've talked about that with a few of my friends. First is free moral will. Okay, that's a very important concept. Free moral will. That's what God gives everybody, the evil and the righteous. Number two, on both sides, both have to be invited in, no forcing upon the human. Interesting. Now, I think that might be a rule, but the devil, I think, breaks it. Now, there are restrictions to that, though, because God protects his right. Yeah, that works. That works because God protects even the wicked, right? Unless they've just given up all their rights, and then you have devil possession, and we're seeing that in our young kids. It's a terrible, terrible mess. And number three, we are the wild card. The wild card, in other words, we make our own choices, right? Intercessory prayer and fasting, says Tim Greed, and the two-edged sword of the Word of God. Prayer and fasting together is a very powerful tool. The devil can use lies and intimidations. I'm not sure what you meant. Interments. Maybe that's actually a word, and I'm just not smart enough to know what it means. Tim Greed also says God can only be what he is: love, consistency, and truth. Yeah, he doesn't have the ability to lie. He doesn't have that advantage. It's almost an advantage for the devil in this war because the devil can use deception. I mean, if the devil told the truth, who'd want to go along with that? Agreed. That's the same reason I do not prefer to have personal testimonies from the pulpit. Yeah, I'll tell you. And because that's how it made me feel when I was growing up. I'd hear these people and they would just accentuate on their lavish, crazy, drug-induced lifestyle and and all of the horrible filth that they did, and then they pulled out of it, and then they found Jesus, and I thought, oh, okay, I could do that. Liza says, yes, prayer and fasting is a powerful tool. The Lord revealed that to me numerous times. And A4 says, amen, Liza, and I say amen too. Amen to Tim and Liza. So we need to be praying for our loved ones, and we need to be praying for the people that we work with. We need to be praying for all of the ones that are in our influence. And it's so important. Listen, we are almost out of time, and we're going to really grieve those who were lost. It's better to pray for them while the day is upon us before night falls, because the day will come when the righteous will be righteous, declared righteous, and the wicked will be declared wicked. And there will be no crossing from one side to the other.
You know, my sister just contacted me after 12 years. She works in St. Jude. She's seeing a lot of cancer victims coming in there, or people with cancer. And she has a big change of heart. And she's been asking me questions about God. And I really would love, because we've never really been close, I would really love to have my sister with me. It'd be really something else.
And your mom and your dad lost a little girl, your sister, when she was very young.
She was 3, yeah.
Yeah, so for sure, we're told that, the ones that were young and died will be there. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't pass the age of accountability. And so And that's another topic that needs to be discussed as well, as the age of accountability. I mean, baptism, and that's what a lot of us have, especially Adventists have been taught. And in the Baptist, in Baptist church, the different Baptist organizations, and even the Anabaptists, like the Amish and stuff, understand the idea of waiting until the age of accountability. So, let me see. Tim says, "Amen, Tim. Sorry I didn't see your comment." Says, "The kids do not understand that when it comes to baptism." That's right. "The day is coming sooner than expected. The final events will be rapid ones. And praise God, Lisa, for reconciliation. I will be praying for you and your sister. Tears."
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Lisa grew up rough. So did I. We grew up pretty rough. I would say I was the epitome of, white trash, for lack of a better word. I mean, we were poor. My dad was an alcoholic, a drug abuser, and we kind of, we were even homeless for a lot of years. In fact, I was homeless when I met Lisa, and she had her different struggles with her family. And
we didn't struggle with money. My dad made plenty of it, but we struggled because of where we lived, and of course having an alcoholic father. So that was kind of hard.
and abandonment issues and a lot of other things.
Yeah, he would drive by and forget us, me and my sister. We'd be on the side of the road waiting for him, and he would drive by and he'd forget us.
In the mountains, 10 miles from home.
More like 15 miles. Yeah. And so when I got older, it didn't bother me, but when I was really young and only weighed 70 pounds, it bothered me, or less. I was so tiny. And then me and my sister, because we grew up that way, we saw each other with the struggles that we had to endure, and we just kind of, when we see each other, it brought that up, I think. And we didn't want to be around each other. So we used to change out each other's shirts, and we comb each other's hair, and there was a creek, and then we get on a school bus. Mine was elementary school bus, and hers was the high school. She's 4 years older than me. And we would just never talk about anything. So, but, we just grew up hard. So, but I never was late picking my kids up. So it did change. I did change a lot of stuff.
We were helicopter parents.
Yeah.
we swung the pendulum too far the other direction. We didn't
Yeah.
give them a chance to hardly breathe.
I wouldn't even let them cry.
Yeah, they were all breastfed until they were like 3 years old.
They never had a wet diaper. They would run and go change it. Yeah.
But praise God, it's interesting how he leads each and every one of us, and each one of us have a story. And,
Yeah.
and those stories are so important, because we're tailor-made to witness to certain people. And when we share with our family and our friends, it's a testimony of who God is and the transformational power that he has in our lives and how he can change each and every one of us, And so...
For the better.
For the better. Lisa grew up in an atheist home. My mom was good at teaching us religion, but, there was just so much chaos and so much things going on that it was tough. And, but we're who we are because of our experiences, and I don't regret my childhood, not 1 second.
Nope, I love my parents.
I love
very
my
much.
parents too. I love my mom and my dad. My dad has passed on, but my mom is still alive, and I love her very much. And I know, Lisa, you love your parents very much. Your dad is gone, and your mother is in a convalescent home.
Yes.
But very sad. But, one day this will all be new, and all things will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, folks, our hour is just about up, and thank you so much for
Thank you.
watching and listening. And just hit that thumbs up and share these programs if you guys can, and subscribe if you guys, or at least consider subscribing if you guys haven't already. And Aaron says, we'll keep the tinfoil polished, and good night. Thank you, my friend. And praise God, you are both today here because the Lord has pulled you out to do his bidding. You do God's work, and Christ will take care of your family and their salvation.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Thank you.
Oh, Ricky just joined us. Oh, darn, he says. Oh, yeah, don't pretend like you haven't been listening, Ricky. We can go another 5 minutes if you want to call. So I love you, brother. I love you, man. So we'll catch you next time. How about that?
Okay.
So thank you so much, folks, for watching. God bless each and every one of you. If you guys have any prayer requests, please send them to prophecymontana at gmail.com. And please, keep us in your prayers as well. Thank you so much, Liza, for your prayers, and everybody else as well. So, all right.